Hi, I'm Nicole Green with Bridge Elementary and Bridge Extension, and I'm here with 4 ladies who have joined me to have a conversation about going from high school to college as homeschoolers. We're going to talk to you about how we prepared our children or helped them prepare themselves for their high school, for transitioning from high school into college, into their own unique experience. I have with me Nicola Johnson, Michelle Herring, Kristen, Kelly Blake, and Sam Fatzinger, and we're going to talk to you about our unique experience. Each of us have children who've gone a different way, and all the experiences are unique. So hopefully you all will get a lot out of this. We're going to start this morning with Michelle Herring, and I'm just going to spotlight Michelle and let her do her thing. Take it away, Michelle.
Thank you for this opportunity. I'm just going to start out real quick by saying I have 4 kids, ages 16, 18, 20, and 22. I've been homeschooling them all ever since pre-K. And my background is I'm the director of the umbrella group at Mount Oak, and I'm also a tutor at Bridge Tutorial in Bowie for middle school and high schoolers. I'm going to be talking about making sure your student gets into a post-high school rigorous academic atmosphere, whether it's college or an academy. I'm going to start out by saying that first off, Tina could not be here. She actually is a member of the umbrella group, and her son got into the Naval Academy. He will be starting in the fall. So very, very important. I want to address the academy first, but the bottom line is very early on, as soon as you can in the high school experience, try to figure out what the goal is that your child wants. So for instance, for the Naval Academy, Tina wrote me and told me to say that you have to start early in that process. So she said by the time you're a junior in the fall of your junior year, so you have had to have taken the SAT, and you also need to apply for some programs that will happen the summer after your junior year. So that is the Boy State program through American Legion and the summer seminar program through the service academies. Those will increase your chances greatly of getting into whether it's West Point or the Naval Academy or whatever. It's very competitive. I know for the Naval Academy, only about 5% of the applicants actually get into the academy. Make sure you apply on time, know your deadlines. Whether it is a 4-year university or the Naval Academy or whatever, know your deadlines. So if you're interested in an academy, in about a week, the application process starts for getting the forms you need in order to get the nomination from your state senator. So for, I'm looking at Steny Hoyer's here right now, it opens up May 15th for candidates who are high school juniors, who will be seniors the following year, and that want to apply for the Naval Academy. And the deadline is mid-October, so know your dates. Okay, now I'm going to transition to going to a big college that is on the very competitive side, I would say. I currently have kids. My son is at University of Maryland, College Park. My one daughter is at NC State, and my other daughter is going to East Carolina University in the fall. So all of those colleges are big colleges, and definitely the first 2 are very, very competitive, especially Maryland. If you live in Maryland, you know that University of Maryland College Park, it is not always easy to get into. So it's important for my children that I set them up to look as good as possible on paper, because everything is on paper. It's all electronically done. There's really no interviews for big colleges. It's how do you look with what you're given, and it's all online and sent to them. So you want them to look really optimal on paper. Being the umbrella director, I also do transcripts. So the summer before I became the umbrella director officially, I called universities to find out what is the most important thing in the admission process that they want to see. And that is your GPA and your SAT score, or at least for the colleges I called, which included Maryland and Towson and UMBC. I focused on the local state colleges. It makes sense to focus on those because they're usually in-state prices are pretty decent. I mean, nothing is really, really optimal because college is not cheap, but as far as going to a school with a very good reputation and affordable, you can definitely do that at Maryland. Plus, you can always apply for the senatorial scholarships and your delegate scholarships that are in-state. So how do you make someone look optimal on paper? Well, I sort of start typically with making sure that you have some honors classes, some CLEPs, and dual enroll, because that shows that you're college ready. The colleges will only be looking at things from 9th to 11th grade on your transcript. So you really shouldn't delay doing college ready courses or anything showing that you're doing stuff with rigor. And don't delay until your senior year. They're going to be looking at stuff 9th through 11th grade. So for honors, I just always do that as an English teacher. We typically do double, of what is required in public school, and that is considered honors. So we do 10 to 12 books a year. The courses I teach at Bridge, it's typically 6 books and a research paper. So I add on about 5 or 6 more books at home, and we do analysis, lit review, and essay, and I make that honors. Also, you can make almost anything honors. For math, anything over pre-calculus, calculus 1, calculus 2, that's honors. For us, when we take pre-calculus, we finish that up, and then we typically, so far, 3 out of 3, they've taken the college algebra CLEP exam, which is 3 college credits for $85. All you have to do is pass the exam. For more information, go to College Board. It's the website with the SAT stuff and ACT stuff and the CLEP stuff. It's all there. It's at your fingertips. My best advice for you is to use the internet, okay? You just Google it, figure it out. You can just, it's all right on there at your convenience. Same thing with history. We CLEP that. American History 1. That's a 3 college credits for CLEPing that. American History 2. Government, you can also CLEP World. There's like 36 different CLEPs you can do. And we've also done, like I said, the pre-calculus. Just know that sometimes colleges don't transfer those CLEPs to the school that your child will end up in the university. For example, Maryland and College Park takes about 12 CLEPs out of the 36, but UMBC, I think, takes almost all of them. I have them do the college algebra CLEP because it's really not, if you really have a kid who understands and gets pre-calculus, it shouldn't be a hard exam to pass. And even though I knew University of Maryland does not take it, it shows that rigor, that level of effort, that the kid did do college level work and not just another A that mom gave them, okay? So it's important to do that. Lastly, when they turn 16, I usually dual enroll them. So it's not hard to dual enroll. Once you turn 16, you usually take the placement exam, and then that way they can figure out what level math you're at and what level English. And so they get in, and I try to set them up to succeed. So it's a little hard to transition from homeschool high school a little bit to a college level course, but public speaking, COM 111 is usually, from what I've experienced and seen, most kids get A's. It's not that difficult. So I usually set them up for classes I know they can do well in, and that would include also English. They've done psychology, they've done geography. My one daughter right now is taking pottery. Okay, ceramics, it fulfills some requirements that she needs for ECU. Okay, so you can get in earlier, if you think your kid is ready. I started at 16 because for my first child, I really wasn't sure. I was a little nervous if he could handle it. He did great. My fourth child, we started at 15. All it is one extra step, just submitting a piece of paper to the dean, meeting with them, and then signing off on it. So 15, she took 2 courses, English 101 and Com 111. So like I said, it's the first 3 years that need to look really good. So by the time they are applying, and remember your dates, hit all your deadlines. So if you're applying for Maryland, I'm pretty sure it's October 15th is the first application deadline. You want to do the early application deadlines. It just increases your chances of getting in because you don't want to wait to the second wave when there's less slots available. The second wave, I think, is sometime in January. So we always do the early. We make sure everything is done with the early application. So that means you gotta start everything the summer after junior year, looking at essays, making sure you've narrowed down your college choices. For my son, he didn't know what he wanted to major in. So the best option when your kid is not lucky enough to know and already geared in what they want to do is to go to a big college, because there's obviously multiple majors that they can choose. I know University of Maryland has like a 92% graduation rate. We did look at a smaller school, and I had like a 65% freshman finishing on to graduate. And the main reason they said people transfer is because they figure out, oh, I think I really want to major in this, and you don't have it. So, and sometimes those colleges don't accept other colleges' credits, and you may lose some in the transition. So when in doubt, our option was, go big. So by the time my kids have completed 11th grade, their transcript has at least 45 college courses on it, or CLEPs between the two. They have taken the SAT exam at least once. I recommend taking it twice. It's very common knowledge. They always seem to do better the second time. It's important when you are narrowing and honing in on what colleges to apply to that you do your research. Okay, you go on their website, or you look up different, you can go on the college board. They have a bunch of stuff on there that will give you information on different colleges. But I think the best thing to do is to actually go to the college you're interested in and go one step further, call the admissions office. Okay, we had to do that because we homeschooled, and for the first year that I did that with my son back in 2015, when we were looking at Maryland and applying, they wanted this entire spreadsheet back then of what courses he took and what he covered and what the curriculum was. So there will always seem to be, what I have found and experienced, a homeschool admissions officer. So work with them, pick their brain, find stuff out. Definitely know the average SAT score, because that will definitely get you in, that's the goal, or be over and or above that average SAT score, but show your kid is college ready with their academics, okay? Also, when it comes to picking colleges, for some reason, my first two definitely love the whole idea of the big college sports, especially being the whole Big Ten and with NC State, the ACC. It's a very active community, big community, lots of fun stuff to do with sports there, and very popular sports, very good teams there. If you are not quite sure where your child wants to go, help them along. We always start with geography. We would prefer you be within a 5 to 6 hour drive. I want to be able to get you home over spring break or whatever, or drive and drop you off. You come home, take the train. It's a little bit hard when they're all the way, on the other side of the US. And especially now, if you're thinking logistics and you're thinking about, well, actually right now, if you don't know, this recording is during the pandemic, so we're all in the staying at home part. So it's something to think about. You might not want your kid to be that far away from you, because you're going to probably have to drive them all the way to Texas or California. I personally wouldn't put them on a plane right now, but I like the idea of staying on the East Coast because that's where we are in Maryland. Look at size. You don't have to go to these big colleges. There are smaller colleges, but they may be just as rigorous to get into. But they that's one thing we consider. So geography, the size, and obviously the major. Does it have the major you want? Okay, so my daughter right now that's going into ECU, she knew early on, after taking that psychology course at Anne Arundel Community College, she wanted to major in psychology. She also, God bless her, knew very early on she wanted to go to ECU, where her dad went. She'd seen the campus. She loved everything ECU. So we were very, very selective and smart about looking at what is required to get a psychology degree at ECU, and then going on to Anne Arundel and making sure those courses she took at community college when she was a junior and senior will go over and meet those requirements. So she is going to be going to ECU in the fall with 30 college credits, so she'll be going in as a sophomore. So that helps us out also financially. She should be able to graduate in 3 years. Also, she's looking long-term. ECU not only has a master's program, but a doctorate, okay? My son at Maryland, again, he went in by the time he was a freshman. I think he had 22 or 23 credits. That helped him be ahead. He is graduating in a week or two at Maryland, but as I think he applied in his junior year, he applied to the master's program at Maryland. So he graduates this May with his undergrad and next May with his master's, and then he's done. Okay, so same thing with my second child. She went into NC State with 33 college credits, so as a sophomore. So if you're probably wondering, how am I going to pay for college? This is the one way to make sure those actual college bills are a little bit cheaper so they can graduate in 3 years. Also, don't be surprised, if they're doing the pre-calculus, they're studying for the SAT, they're probably going to get, and overall just studying for the SAT, they should be getting some decent scores. And if that's the case, you want to, when they take the SAT, you can list at least 4 colleges on there that they will send the results for free. My second daughter did that, and she sent it to Maryland, and within a month of getting, the releasing all the SAT stuff, Maryland was sending her letters and recruiting her to basically saying, come to Maryland, you're going to get into the honors program. You're going to get in. Just come check out Maryland. And she did. She went to that program. There was a special open house for people they were recruiting. So they didn't get she didn't get the 1.5-hour tour. She got the half-day, fed them breakfast, lunch tour, and the president spoke, and she met heads of departments. So if you know your child is doing well on those practice exams that they're studying for SAT, ACT, just pop in those schools of their choices. So then the colleges know about them ahead of time, and they're more likely also to get merit scholarships. And, I'm talking money here. So that's an option too. As far as where else am I? This is all academics I've been talking, but colleges definitely like to see the big picture. So if you haven't applied for colleges yet, you know that there's programs out there, it's all online, and they love to see the extracurriculars. So early on, 9th grade, start making a resume. They're going to need it anyway if they're going to be applying for a job or to colleges. And I typically keep a running track of what my kids have done in 4 categories: extracurriculars, which is jobs, playing some sort of musical instrument if they do that, sports, robotics team, whatever the extracurriculars are, keep track of that. They love to see that. They love to see volunteer, volunteer service hours. Keep track of that. They love to see anything with awards, okay? If you have a kid in Scouts, definitely before they are a senior, make sure they get that Eagle Scout so they can have it on their application for a transcript, okay? Not transcript, I mean on their resume, and it's seen when they do the application. And lastly, leadership. If they have any opportunity to be a leader in any format, give them that chance, whether it's a debate team leader, whether it is a captain or co-captain of a sports team. You basically really want to make them look as good as possible and as well-rounded as possible between your transcript and your resume. The SAT, ACT for these big schools seems to still be very important. I know some schools are trying to transition out of them or making it optional. I don't know what's going to happen this fall. All the SAT exams beginning March through June so far, and I think through the summer are just canceled. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But just make your kid look as good as possible, as soon as possible. Give them the rigorous courses that they need to show those colleges that they've done college readiness level work. And I think that's everything I needed to say. I hope that helped. Oh, I can't hear you. Did you say something, Nicola? I'm sorry, Nicole.
Muted. Okay, sorry. I was the only one that was still muted. I was just saying thank you so much for sharing all of that, Michelle. And I was thinking the last point you made, and I just read about it, so I wanted to just go ahead and answer that. The pandemic response to the standardized tests. So some schools have already looked ahead and have made like waiver concessions for standardized tests going into in the next school year. For students, especially those who they were waiting for the final test result. Like you said, some were taking it in March, some were taking it in August, depending on the school's admissions. If your student had already needed to have their final standardized test in application stage, then of course that doesn't matter. But a lot of them are waiving that last SAT score and using kind of, I guess we would call it the honor system, based, that whatever they already had on their application, if they've already, especially if they've already been admitted, they're just going to go with that. And it's the final transcript that's going to weigh the most in terms of what happens next. And I think that's hindsight is 2020. That's probably one of those things, Michelle, you would probably say is a argument for why it's good to start early, right? Because you never know what your end of your school year is going to look like. So do what you can on the front end as much as possible. One question that came into us that I wanted to ask you specifically was the comparison between admissions requirements and graduation requirements. So being an umbrella director, you know that there are specific maybe graduation requirements that either are specific to the state, right, or to the county, or even to the umbrella. But then those are not always sufficient for what the school may be requiring. So can you speak a little bit about the difference between high school graduation requirements and large school or rigorous, that big academic focused schools admissions requirements? And tell us where to find those, because I don't know if every parent knows how to find that information out.
Sure. It's basically, you have to do your research. You need to go to, as far as what the college requires, you need to go on their admissions website and find out specifically what they need. That's a very good point. Colleges will get your transcript with what you've completed through 11th grade, but they also, if it's a rigorous college, they want to see you continue that rigor. Don't just stop after you've done 3 sciences. Do that 4th science. Don't stop with anything with that math. Do that next level math. Mm-hmm. Okay? So another thing I wanted to point out before I forget is that if you are applying to a college, everything I've read and I've seen and I've talked to, do not write undecided. My son really truly was undecided. And I said to him, you've already finished calculus 1, so you're good at math. You have no clue what you want to do, but do something with that in your category. So either write down you're going to be a math major, a business major, or engineering, something with math. So he picked business. And because his SAT score was really high, what I consider high, and because he showed that he was very college ready, he actually, and this is very hard, he was admitted into the honors college at University of Maryland and into the business school directly as a freshman, okay? Wow. He really showed he was ready. There's 3 colleges within the University of Maryland at College Park that have LEP programs, limited enrollment programs. So they only take the top academically, I guess, and that would be the computer college, the engineering, and the business. So he didn't have to wait till his second semester sophomore year to apply with the big, thousands of other people to get into the business school. He was automatically in. So we set him up to be as good as possible, to look as good as he could for getting into Maryland. So since this was my first kid applying to Maryland, and you hear, oh, it's so hard to get into, I guess we did a good job because he got in and he got into honors and the business school. So it's sort of a nice little formula that seems to work, and that's how it's worked for the other kids too. So just because the State Department, you look at the Maryland State Department of Education, and you just Google high school requirements to graduate, you will get the list of 21 credits that you need to legally graduate in the state of Maryland for high school. But that does not really fly with what, if you want to get into Maryland. And do your research. I know for a fact, don't even bother applying to Maryland unless you've definitely done at least 2 years of consecutive foreign language. Don't apply to Harvard unless you've done 4 years of foreign language, okay? Every college is a little different. You got to do your research.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. So some advice that I give to parents is start with the end in mind. So as soon as you're preparing, your child wants to go to college, or that's a non-negotiable thing in your house or whatever, start looking at colleges and plan backwards. And if you can do that, I think that that adage, if reach for the stars and at least you'll land around the moon, or whatever that expression is, that is one of those things that at least maybe they'll change their direction, right? Maybe they won't go that route. At least they'll be prepared. So thanks so much, Michelle, for sharing that with us. It was very informative. And I know that parents who have kids who are looking at, Big Ten size schools, even if they're not in that traditional or that Big Ten moniker, that they will have gotten a lot out of what you shared. So I really appreciate that. I want to go next to Sam, and because Sam's kids also ended up at larger schools or at state schools, more traditionally academic centered schools. And so I think she's a good segue from what Michelle shared. But Sam's family is 4 times the size of Michelle's, 3 times the size of Michelle's, and also her kids took a different route, a little bit of a different route. So we're going to go to Sam now. And so Sam, can you first introduce yourself, and then tell us about your family a little bit, and talk to us about the 1 through 8 so far who's gone to college, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So let me highlight Sam. And okay.
All right, good morning. First of all, Michelle Herring is a rock star homeschooler and has mentored me and held my hand with a lot of my kids as our umbrella director. We are a totally different route, and I love how Michelle used the word formula, because that is kind of what has happened with our family. Is we have a kind of formula that I feel like the Holy Spirit kind of made work with our first older kids. I have 14 children. My oldest is 30 and my youngest is 3.5, and 7 grandchildren. And our older 8 have graduated. Now, the Fatzinger formula is self-sufficiency and money. It's pretty much all about finances in our house, because not only because of the amount of children we have, but we have always just made enough and never had a lot of extra. But our kids pay for everything themselves. They pay for their own community college, their own books, they buy their own cars. So because we are in PG County in Maryland, it is a blessing that they only require 21 credits. And 21 credits looks a lot like passing everything by your junior year, and the only extra thing you need is an English credit your senior year. And my kids take 1.5 English credits, 9th grade and 10th grade, kind of like what Michelle had said, kind of an honors, going above and beyond. So we do an umbrella. We attend St. Peter the Rock tutorial in Bowie, and it's a homeschool tutorial for 8th to 12th grade. So our kids do that little bit extra in 9th and 10th grade so that they can fulfill all the requirements of our state by 11th grade. My older 8 have all gone to community college around 16 and 17. And because they have fulfilled the requirements of our county, it's not really considered dual enrollment. It's considered they graduated early. So the bonus to that, and again, this was kind of happened on accident, I didn't realize it, but the bonus to our kids graduating at 16 or 17 is once you've graduated, you can get FAFSA, which is state aid, if you take 12 credits. So all of our kids have gone to Anne Arundel Community College because it's one of the best community colleges in the country. We live in PG County, so I'll say not me, but the kids have to pay, pending on the enrollment and the financial help that's available. Some of my kids have gone to Anne Arundel Community College almost free, and some have had to pay a lot more. It depended upon how much my husband was making that year, how many other people were enrolled. One of my kids, who's now 26, when he enrolled, it was during a financial crisis in the country, and so lots of people were going to community colleges, so the money was less, so he had to pay a lot more. We, as in my kids, have to search for scholarships. So because I was always pregnant and nursing, my kids had to do everything by themselves. So that's where the self-sufficiency comes in hand. They have to make sure that they're filling out all the applications for FAFSA and for schools and for jobs. And so I try to make sure that they are motivated, because if not, they're going to be paying for it. So some of my kids spent hours finding scholarships. All of them have gotten delegate scholarships and senatorial scholarships, which helps. Every little bit helps. And my number 9 daughter, who just is graduating, I guess this week, kind of in this crazy pandemic, she spent hours going through different scholarships and has found lots of extra money. There's always the essay contests and all those things. Every little bit helps for books, for gas, for insurance, for their everything. So they are really diligent about doing that. Again, I'm always so busy taking care of the rest of the kids, so I have not been much help. So I think what works for our kids is the community college, and then doing those 2 years. Interesting enough, my older 7 just went to community college for 2 years. And like Michelle, I can't express enough about making sure they're contacting their counselors at the community college. There is so much free things at the community college. There is free tutoring. We kind of have a joke in our family, like you always do extra credit and you always make a relationship with your professor or with the TA, teacher's assistant. And it has worked hands down for my older 8. if they have like a 79 or an 89 in class, it has always worked that their teacher has given them that A or that B. And by the grace of God, because I think the teacher will go, well, you know, that's a kid who came to me and asked for extra credit, or that's a kid who signed in hours and hours to work with a TA. This is all free, and people need to make sure they're utilizing all those things that you get when you become part of the college campus. My 8th son has taken advantage of the health center, found out, you know, they have a food bank that doesn't matter how much money you make. All this stuff is free to the students. He was so excited because he found out that the health center has like a quiet room, I guess. It's kind of like a stress-free room where you can kind of go and rest under some massage chair. I mean, he felt like he won the gold medal because he's like, Mom, they have this thing. So there's so much free stuff, especially those TAs. That's free tutoring that they can get when they're struggling. And again, for those kids that are borderline, which my kids always are with that like 79 or that 89. And then my older 7 have all rolled right into a 4-year school. My oldest 3 took the SATs. The rest of the kids are like, what's the point? Because our formula in our house is you graduate from St. Peter the Rock, and then you go right into the community college. It's kind of like our high school, you know, finale. And the older 3 took the SATs, but then the other ones didn't, and none of them have had a problem because they get to the community college counselor and say, this is what I want to major in. I agree with Michelle. Find something that you're good at. You can always change later, but specifically, my kids are paying for their own classes. So that, again, is why they never miss a class. They never miss study hall, because they're going to have to pay to take that class again. We always joke, we don't have time and we don't have money. So they have to utilize the time that they're there. They have to be smart. All of my kids have really been making sure that they are taking every single class that they need to graduate and that will transfer to the school of their choice. And so that diligence in that, and not ever taking just like a class that won't transfer. When you go to the community college, and I'm sure every school is like this, if you're going to transfer, they tell the counselor, this is what my goal is. I want to transfer to Maryland or Towson or UMBC. And they'll say, okay, well, Maryland requires this class, this math class. They won't take this one. Towson requires this. They won't take this. So they've never really taken a class that wasn't transferring to their destination. So my older daughter went to AACC for 2 years and transferred to UMBC because she wanted to be a social worker. And because in the state of Maryland, you have to have a license to practice social work, she was smart enough to realize that you have to go to a school that has social work as a degree, not sociology as a degree. And then because you have to have a master's degree, if you have an undergrad in social work, then your master's program is only 1 year. And then UMBC has a honors program that transfer you right over to a honors program, which you get your master's degree in 1 year. So she got her master's before she was even 21. And the part of the program with that honors program for UMBC was that they paid for her master's program, and she had to work in the state of Maryland for 2 years. Well, we live in PG County, so she got a job making really good money when a lot of her fellow graduates from their masters didn't have a job yet, but she had already was contracted by the state of Maryland. So she did that, and she is now a mom and works nights at a hospital for being a social worker. So my second son, he did the same thing, 2 years at the community college, and rolled over to Maryland as a kinesiology major. Never had a problem getting into Maryland, where his buddies were struggling getting into after 12 years of private school, making honors classes over 4.0. And then my son Josh, whose passion is sports, he's just rolled right into Maryland because he'd been to the community college and graduated debt free, as well as my older daughter graduated debt free with a master's program. My third son knew he wanted to work with athletics, and he went to AACC, got to play soccer for them, which was a dream of his, because as a homeschooler, unfortunately, we don't have the sports as well as, the kids are going to a lot of the private schools. So he got to play soccer for their Anne Arundel Community College team, transferred over to Towson, after Towson, graduated Towson debt free, and then got into University of Maryland in Baltimore med school for a physical therapy degree, and now is married and working for a company that was started by some of his fellow classmates. My fourth daughter went to AACC for 2 years. Again, wasn't sure what she wanted to do, but knew she was probably transfer over to Maryland. And then she graduated debt-free, and she has a degree in teaching math. And before she even graduated, she already had a job working at a private school in PG County to teach math. So she had 4 job offers to teach math. So something about math teachers always being needed. Now she is pregnant with her first child, graduated debt-free, and right now she calls it the longest maternity leave ever because the school's being closed, so teaching online. And also as a math teacher, she makes lots of money in tutoring, and really in summer school, she's made lots of money doing that. And again, graduating debt-free, but it's been great for her. My fifth daughter did the same route as her older sister. She went to AACC for 2 years, wanted to be a social worker, rolled right over to UMBC, did the same master's program, honors program, graduated debt-free, and the same honors program where she had a job in PG County when she graduated. And now she works as a social worker in Montgomery County. My sixth son went to Maryland. Again, he did not take the SATs, but he went to AACC for 2 years. And this was like a huge, big deal. He got into the business program at Maryland as a junior and graduated with a teeny tiny bit of debt. That was a year ago. He got a job right away. That's one of the bonuses of the business school in Maryland. They really help you get a job and teach you how to do interviews and make your resume look beautiful. He got a job before he graduated. It will be a year now that he's been working for them as a financial advisor, and he's already paid off his teeny tiny debt. My eighth son went to Anne Arundel Community College for 2 years, rolled right into Maryland's business school. He's graduating this week. It's so strange with this pandemic. He's graduating from the University of Maryland Business School with a degree in marketing and a minor in some type of business computer, and has already got a job at one of the top 5 accounting firms in the country. He'll be in Baltimore making a really good salary. He does have debt because he, being stuck in the middle of 14, wanted to live in a house off campus and get out of here. And he has a girlfriend. So he acquired a lot more debt than my other kids. But the bonus of him getting this job with this great company is they also pay towards his college debt, like $2,000 a year for 10 years. And he has taken advantage of all the wonderful things that the business school has offered. And so he will be graduating. And then comes number 8, just finished AACC, and he is finishing right now. He is the only child who decided to get their associate's degree. That being said, because he wasn't a business major or a math major, he only needed one different class to fulfill the requirements to get his AACC. So we were like, hey, every little degree looks great on your resume. So he got into Maryland, but he also got, or is getting, as we speak, kind of his associates at Anne Arundel Community College, which again was the first kid who ever did that. My other kids were like, I don't want to take 1 or 2 extra classes. I just want to fulfill what is required for the school I'm transferring to. And so he will be at Maryland in the fall. And then number 9 is graduating this year from our high school tutorial. And due to the pandemic, our formula is a little different for her. Anne Arundel Community College has already announced that they will not be going back until the end of October, and she would be online. She is a extrovert, social butterfly, and she does not want to do online school. And at the same time, we were very, very blessed to find out that a private Catholic college in Ohio is giving free tuition for first semester for students to come. So she actually got accepted to do that. And that is totally against our formula. The nice thing about our kids having to pay for everything themselves is they stay in Maryland, real close to home, which helps them if they want to commute or, come home for events. You can't miss the 3-year-old's birthday party and they want to see their nieces and nephews. So this will be a big adjustment for our formula, having her go to Ohio. We're looking at it as a 3-month type of mission trip for her because it's a private Catholic school. So it will be giving her an opportunity to do something that her other siblings didn't get to do. And then who knows what the Lord has in store for the rest of that. But it's just the first semester that's free. And that's never been done in the history of this college. But due to this pandemic, they're trying to help a lot of families who are out of work. I am homeschooling my other children. We have right now, my daughter Cecilia is 14 and she's in 9th grade at St. Pierre the Rock. We have a 7th grader and a 5th grader, and my 8-year-old is a 1st grader at public school across the street. Everyone thought the world fell apart when me, after homeschooling 12 children solely since birth, put my son into the public school across the street. He has some academic challenges. We adopted him when he was 12 weeks. Well, we got him when he was 12 weeks old, and he was with us until we finally got to adopt him when he was almost 6. So academically, he has been doing great at the public school, getting a lot of extra services that I was not providing well enough. And so again, he's home right now because of this pandemic, but that has been very helpful. And then we have a 3.5-year-old who is home preschool. I think that's pretty much it, but our formula is really the money and staying debt free and our kids paying for everything. And I love Michelle's formula, but my kids are kind of, besides paying for everything themselves, academically, they're normal. They're not as intelligent as maybe Michelle's kids, but they're wise. We say there's a difference between smart and wise, and they've all been very wise to fulfill their obligations. And again, that's a nice thing about homeschooling and about and using the tutorials. All my kids have had no problem at all at the community college. Self-teaching, doing school 2 days a week, and then studying the other days has helped them extremely with the college experience. And so that's, homeschooling and using tutorial for high school has been such a huge blessing to our family.
Absolutely. I think that, Sam, I will tell you that one of the things I tell lots of parents, I tell parents when I talk to them all the time, is there are as many ways to do a thing as there are people doing it, right? So sure, your path was different than Michelle's, and your kids are different than Michelle's. There's, I don't know how you get all 14 kids into a Big Ten the same way she did it. Your family's different than hers. I don't know I don't think that makes your kids less intelligent than hers. What I want parents to hear when they see this is when they hear your story is that there is another way to do it. And my curiosity for you would be, do you anticipate, so this one who threw like a monkey wrench in the Fatzinger formula, do you anticipate, just knowing the personalities of the younger ones, that maybe some of them may do something different too?
No, because they kind of all, so my oldest son is a missionary on college campuses, and he's moving back and just bought a house on next to the college campus at College Park. So they're already with rooms to rent, and they're already like, oh, well, then I'm not even going to live at home and commute. I'm going to live at this house. They, of course, the younger two, who knows what's going on in the world, and that the 8-year-old and the 3.5-year-old. I can tell you that the other three, the 14-year-old, the 12-year-old, and the 10-year-old, they are all planning on going to ACC and then going to Maryland. Now, if they get, who knows if they'll get into the business school. That was a wild card and such a huge blessing. God is so amazing and has kind of pulled our hands in this. And, on a side note, this is so weird, but my friends will laugh at me who have kids going away to these big schools. Besides them being debt free, then they kind of fall in love with someone who lives in Maryland, and then they stay there. I have a grandchild. I got my one grandchild a mile from me, 3 grandchildren 3 miles from me, and then my son, who's going to be at Maryland, will be here with they're expecting their 3rd under 3, and so they'll be at Maryland. So who knew that was going to be a side bonus?
That's a good thought. Excellent.
All about the grandchildren. Keep them close to Grammy.
That's funny. Thank you so much, Sam, for sharing your story. The Fatzinger method is amazing. And I guess when you have a lot of children who are doing their own thing and got to get it done for themselves, it helps to have a formula. The Fatzinger formula is what you called it, right? It helps to have a formula that everybody can follow behind, and it definitely works. So I'm sure there are a lot of families who are thinking about, what can we do? What might be our signature, especially if they don't have 3 out-the-box different kind of thinkers like I do in my house, who will be able to follow a way that seems to work. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us, and we wish all of your family all the best. Thanks so much. So much great information. Thanks for joining us for part 1. Please look for the second video for part 2 of this discussion, with more moms who are sharing with you their experiences of homeschooling their children from high school to college.